So, welcome to Third Thursday. It's lovely to see you all, and thanks for giving up your time to share this webinar with me. My name's Alison Bell, for anybody who doesn't know me. I hope you'll enjoy the session today on how to deliver self-rescue in the pool and the classroom, and hopefully everyone will take away something new in this half an hour, which I think will be great. I'm personally looking forward to delivering Prevention of Drowning Week starting on the 19th of June. Hopefully some of you will be involved in that as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to explore the self-rescue skills, and I'm going to use our SwimPix cards to sort of show you the cards that we're using, but also to look at the self-rescue skills. We're then going to go into breakout rooms, so that'd be great if you could then put your cameras back on. That bit's not recorded. Just so we're going to discuss how we will apply, which I think is really important for children to be able to do. It's all right knowing what the 4 key water safety messages are, but are they able to choose and apply them in different situations? So that's what we're mainly going to focus on there. And whether to use the self-rescue water-based situations, what would they do? So that's going to be our breakout rooms. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you some self-rescue situations for water-based situations and using our SwimPix cards to show you that. The thing I'd really like you to consider, and I think the thing perhaps we don't consider enough when we're teaching water safety, is the cold water shock and what impact that can have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of blend that in as we go. But what we need to remember is when we hit the water and it's really cold in open water, shock may well set in, and with that comes panic. So that is something that we need to get across. So I'm going to look at entries first, bearing in mind that the last thing we want children to do is get into cold water, because that does reduce their chances of survival. So remember, if they do fall in, they need to fall in here, float, breathe and relax to enable them to be able to sort of deal with the situation. So first rule, mustn't get in. If they do get in, the other really important thing about self-rescue is trying to keep the head as dry as possible, because we lose a lot of heat out of our head. Okay, so that's one thing that we do need to think about. So these entries that can be used in survival is a sliding entry. So this is where the water depth here is pretty much level, and we can just slide in if we had to. If it was to produce or to rescue someone, it means we can see our casualty and we don't lose sight of them. For the straddle entries, the freeboard, so that means where the water is and the space or the height before the entry point. So that's your freeboard. If that's less than 1 metre, then we're able to do a straddle entry safely into the pool. This one, some of you may not have seen before, a fall-in entry. And this is if the freeboard is over 1 metre. If any of you got any questions on this, I can answer it when before we do the breakout rooms, but you do need your head covered to protect. You can go in backwards or sideways and you curl into a ball as you go in to protect the internal organs and mainly the head. On this one, it's unlikely you better keep the head dry, but it would be the safest way of getting in if it's over 1 metre. And the all-important exit. So many children do struggle to climb out of the pool. So we do need the elbows up nice and high, and we also need to make sure that we lean forwards. The other water safety and self-rescue is if they're unable to climb out wherever they are, to see whether they can move along the side to actually get themselves out at a place that might be a little bit more shallow. So let's have a look now at some other sort of basic water safety skills. So remember, cold water is the main thing to remember, because this has a massive effect on the body. So we do need to say again, float, breathe, relax. Can I just ask everyone to make sure they're on mute? Sorry, if that's okay. I can just hear some background noise. Thank you. So it is really important that we do keep our clothes on, and I think children need to realise that keeping clothes on keeps the heat in, keeping our head dry stops the heat being lost through our head, and swimming slowly is the other key. As we all know, if we swim quickly, what happens is the blood goes to the working muscles and goes away from the internal organs, which can reduce our survival time in very cold water. Again, this is my personal opinion, I think all children of every ability, including those non-swimmers, or especially those non-swimmers, get a chance to experience what it's like to swim with a t-shirt on. Because we often do this kind of survival with the deep end groups, when actually if they fell in with a t-shirt, they would probably be okay, but those non-swimmers may not be. So give them the opportunity to swim in a t-shirt in a safe environment. So these are some skills, and these are all in the school self-rescue award. So we do have swimming clothes. So again, give that to all swimmers. This one, survival stroke. Now, for many years, I've been teaching for about 30 odd years now. And one of the things I found I did a lot of was I taught breaststroke as the survival stroke, when in fact, particularly in school swimming, a long doggy paddle is probably more realistic with a flutter kick leg action with the head dry. You're going to have far more children being able to do this as a survival stroke. And if you think about the development of front paddle, front crawl, it's kind of what they do anyway. So it can be taught also as a survival stroke, keeping the head dry. The other important skill is swimming. I've got a picture here of breaststroke and being able to roll over, perhaps float, breathe and relax. And the other one is swimming with objects, which could be all types of objects. I do have a bottle here, if you can see me, that you can hold. These are 5 litre empty bottles. I use these for synchronised swimming, but also great for water safety, to swim on their front and back with these. You could use balls, floats, noodles, but the important things are swim slowly, keep your head dry, keep your clothes on. So let's have a look at a few other skills. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the help position, the heat escape lessening posture, the huddle, and this one particularly, treading water action for help. So just to be clear, one of the things that's changed in the last few years is we used to teach waving as an action for help, but that is no longer. It should be, if you can see me, a straight arm up, and just calling for help. So there's a distinguished difference when you are asking for help. So that's a really useful top tip to be teaching our children. So what we're going to do is we're going to look now at some breakout rooms. So Lorna's very kindly offered to put us into some breakout rooms. And this is what we're going to do. So the rooms will be labelled room 1, 2, 3 and 4. And what you're going to do is when you go into the room, we are going to look at the situation. And I've used the swim pick cards that we have in the school swimming pack. They're not all in there. These are 8 of them. And I will go through the extra ones after we come out of the breakout room. But what I want you to do is, if you were teaching these situations to a group of children, for you to think about, and also for them to think about, could I have used one of the 4 key water safety messages to stop it happening? If it has happened, could I use one of these? If it has happened, what self-rescue skill would I use? So kind of it's about applying, and I think this is where we really need to help our children understand, is what are the 4 key water safety messages and what self-rescue and how do we use them? You could also, with the 2 you've got, think about, could I teach this? How can I teach this in the pool? How could I teach it in a classroom-based situation or in a PE lesson in the gym? So what? Okay, so here we go. So such a massive subject, isn't it, to talk about, but some lovely ideas there. So thank you. So here we've got some water-based situations where perhaps a ball lands in a fish pond. And what we've got is we've got like the red stripes there, sort of just giving us some ideas of what we could do. So things like stay away from the edge, leave the ball in the fish pond, and can I use my key water message, call an adult. This one is sort of really how to help. So God forbid if they ever found anybody face down, perhaps we could teach them to turn the casualty over just using the shoulders and again call for help. That in itself may save a life, and this type of information can be delivered in the classroom, maybe even in the gym, practicing rolling each other over. This one here, is actually one of my favourites, and I did when I designed swim pics. I actually spent a lot of time researching this. And if the first thing is key water safety message, don't go on the ice anyway. But if they did find themselves falling through, this is the technique that you would use. So first of all, when they fall in, they would need to regulate their breathing. The next thing they need to do is to be able to kick their legs, like flutter kick their legs up to level with the ice. And then they kick forwards as if they're doing front crawl so that they can pull themselves out flat onto the ice. And then they stay flat and spread out to get themselves out of trouble. That could be taught in the pool on a big raft if it was next to the edge of the pool. But I think that one's actually probably quite a fun one to teach. But hopefully that's maybe something new that you didn't know. There's also really good YouTube videos on that you could share with children. We did discuss this one. So again, regulate your breathing, regain your standing. If you're on the side, call an adult for help. We've got both of these we did discuss, drifting into deep water. So you've got things like your help position, keeping your head dry. Here we talked about huddle positions. We do need to make it really cool to wear life jackets, you know, if we are some kind of buoyancy aids. And the other thing with the huddle is to make sure that children or the huddle is turning so that the waves don't go into the face of the same people all the time. We've got both of these we did discuss as well. So there's lots of options to get back on the boat, help position. Even these two could huddle together. This one with the current, I love the idea of the balls to show them that scenario. Also, it's things like trying to grab onto something is really important. My parents do come from a boating background, and sometimes when you're in the harbour, the water does look like this. And there are lots of things like ladders and pontoons, etc. If you get caught in it, even in a boat a couple of times, and I've been in a rowing boat and we've got caught by the tide, it is catching on to something to avoid you getting kind of pushed away. We've also got, sorry, this one here, which is a riptide. So again, this is where the water is really swirly. You can see them quite often. You can kind of see the riptides, but what can happen here is that you can be pulled out exceptionally fast. So it's good if you've got a kind of a board that you're surfing on, have a strap so you're strapped to the board so you don't lose it. If you do get caught on this tide, the best way is to exit sideways out of the riptide before it takes you way out to sea. So again, that's something that perhaps you could do with children either side, making, you know, waves with floats. and then perhaps they try and exit out of the side. Maybe that's one way you could practice that in the pool. This one here, I think, is really underestimated. Tide came in. There was some Asian children that I think I mentioned this last month, where they didn't watch the tide come in. They hadn't checked when it was high or low. They weren't alert, and the water came around them and they were in too deep water, and unfortunately they did all drown. So it's so important to make sure that children are aware of what tides do, the difference it makes, and to make sure that they do move to a safe place and to stay alert. So important. Sorry, I don't know what's happening with my PowerPoint there, jumping around. So this one here, fallen into a canal lock. Again, last month I told the story of a little 3-year-old when I was a child. I remember being on a boating holiday that drowned because they didn't have a life jacket on. You may have children sort of mucking around, walking across the lock and falling in. Again, you've got things like your float, breathe, relax, help position, action for help. Make sure somebody is with you. So it goes back to those 4 key water safety messages. Just in there, cold water shock, we've spoken quite a bit about that today and how important that is. So I hope they've been helpful. All of these cards that we've spoken about today are in our school swim pack in Award 3, all the water-based situations are, and also they've got a self-rescue award, which is really useful. We do have this Break It Down book, the red one, that has all the information on water safety. It does break down all the skills and the water safety sort of messaging sort of within the book. So that might be really helpful to you. So thank you for coming today. Next month, I will take some questions in a minute if anyone's got time. Next month, we're doing it on the 22nd of July at the same time, 12:45 to 1:15. I do apologise, gone over a little bit today, but hopefully all valuable for you. And we're going to look at working together. So that's teachers, pupils and parents. And how can we make that learning experience the best we can by all working together. So thank you for your time. I will stop sharing now.